Hey everybody, Mr. Lears here. These are the supplies that you are going to need for today. You are not required to have all of these supplies. You at least need a pencil and some paper and hopefully with an eraser. And then also you are going to, if you have it, if you want, you can use a marker or a pen and any kind of colors. If you have colored pencils, crayons, markers, paint, whatever you want to use. It's up to you. Or if you don't have colors, we'll just use pencil today. That's fine too. Okay, so take a moment to go ahead and get these supplies ready. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten your supplies ready. So today we are going to continue our study of the style of artwork called cubism, and we're not going to look at Pablo Picasso's art again. We're looking at the other famous artist that was part of cubism, and his name was Braque. So our goals for today and this lesson are going to be describing what cubism is. We are also going to make cubism artwork. And at the end, and whenever you show me your artwork, that's when we critique our art, and that's how we talk about how awesome it is and maybe some things to make it even more awesome. So some vocabulary that you're going to want to think about during our lesson today is the word cubism and geometric and viewpoint. Okay, so here's an example of Braque's art. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what is cubism. Okay, so it's when you make art from many viewpoints. Okay, viewpoints are when you are, let's say, remember last week when we drew our portraits, we were drawing one person, but we draw them looking at you. And then we also drew them to the side. So this is one viewpoint when I'm looking at you, and this is a different viewpoint, even though it was only one face, and we had facial features looking at you and some looking to the side, and they were all mixed up. And that's all part of cubism. So a critic, here's an example actually before I get on to the critic. So multiple viewpoints. So this is an artwork by Braque, and it's a picture of a violin, but he's showing the violin from the front and the side. Okay, can you see it in there? I think there's a vase in there as well, a flower vase. Okay, so that's what I mean by viewpoints. So even though it's one violin, we're showing parts from the front and side at the same time. Okay, so again, about the critic, before I get ahead of myself again. The critic didn't like his artwork at all. They didn't like cubism when they first saw it, and they actually insulted it, and they were talking bad about it. And they said it was nothing more than a bunch of geometric shapes. Okay. There's my critic. Cubiste, which means cubism. But he wasn't saying it in a nice way. But it stuck. And then people started calling all the artworks cubism. Kind of the same thing happened with Impressionism. When they first saw Impressionism and noticed it didn't look very real, that's when the critic came in and said, this doesn't look real. That's just an impression of a real artwork. And that's where the word Impressionism came from. And then it stuck around and people actually started using it in a positive way. Okay. And sometimes cubism had letters in it. If you look at this one, you can kind of see like the letter T over and over again. There's an N, there's a 5. Okay. So it wasn't just shapes, it was also letters as well. And cubism art had 3D objects that looked flat. So that's that part that I'm talking about, how it doesn't look real, how they would take things and make them look like flat shapes. So for example, if you look at this artwork, here's another cubism artwork where they would take things and make it look very flat, even though they're not flat. Okay, these are different like paints, and it looks like some sort of like Ferris wheel that is now just squares. So, okay, so cubism art or cubism inspired other artists, musicians, and architects. So when people saw Cubism artwork, it inspired them to make music. It also inspired architects to design houses. Look at the geometric shapes that you can see in a house, like all the different triangles and rectangles and parallelograms and thin rectangles and thick rectangles and squares. Okay. Cubism also led to abstract art. We've talked about abstract artwork before. That's when artwork doesn't even look at all like a person, a place, or a thing. It is just expressing the way you feel with lines, shapes, and color. So before that was cubism. So you can kind of see this cubism artwork is, you can kind of tell what it is still. All right, it looks like a forest to me, and it's almost abstract, where it's just going to be line shapes and colors. Okay. So that's just a little bit about what cubism is. Let's start by describing what we see in this picture right here. Okay, so I want you to look at this picture and just look for different lines, shapes, colors. Value means shadows. Textures means how something feels. Maybe there's some space in the picture, and I want you to think to yourself, do you see any of those things? For example, I see, let's start with lines. I see squiggly lines. I see straight lines. I see diagonal lines, vertical, horizontal lines. Okay. I see perpendicular lines. That means they come to a corner or an edge. Okay, they intersect some of the lines. All right, let's talk about shapes. I see all sorts of geometric shapes in here, and some shapes that are just made up. So I see, definitely I see some squares and triangles, circles, half circles, rectangles. All right, and we see anything else? Kind of like this mountain shape, half circle. Here's kind of like a pizza slice right here. All right, so let's talk about colors. All right, I want to point out the fact that there's like many different colors. So there's green, and I see some browns and some very like a burnt umber or orange. I see black and blue. I see white. Some of the lines, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about lines. Some of the lines are black and some of the lines are different colors, like blue or white even. There's some white lines over here. Okay, so there's not much shadows in this picture. And that's part of when I was talking about how it looks flat. If Cubism artists were to put shadows in their pictures, it would make it look three-dimensional. And that's not part of their style. Okay, as far as textures go, I kind of see a little bit of a rough texture right here and a rough texture right here. This looks smooth, okay? And as far as space goes, there's not a lot of space, right? It's pretty flat. There's a little bit, kind of maybe a little bit of overlap. You know, that's when one thing is on top of another, because it kind of looks like this little sign is in front of the vase and the vase is in front of whatever these shapes are. So there's a very small amount of space in this picture. Like I said, they're trying to make it really, really flat. Okay. So I think that's a pretty good description. Let's analyze this a little bit further. And let's start thinking about, are some of these details the same and are some of them different? All right, and we're going to focus on repetition. That means doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe there's a pattern. Balance means the same on both sides. Maybe there's some emphasis. Emphasis means like a focus. Are we supposed to focus in on something in a picture? Okay, so let's start looking at things that are the same and different. Well, the lines. There are the same thing about the lines is that they're straight and wavy and curved and diagonal. There's all different kinds of lines. Those are all the same, but they are slightly different. We kind of talked about in the last one because they're different colors. Some are straight, some are round, right? Let's talk about the shapes. How are the shapes the same? Well, the shapes are pretty much geometric. Those are the shapes you see in math, like square, rectangle, triangle, all right? And I see a lot of those shapes repeating over and over again. You know, they're slightly different, but they're still geometric shapes, all right? And the colors, let's talk about how the colors are the same. Well, we see some of the same colors repeating, like this green is here, 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 and here. But there are different colors as well. So many different colors. And we talked about that before. And another thing about the colors is they're sometimes light and dark. So there's dark brown and light brown and even lighter brown, okay? Here's like a darker orange and here's a lighter orange. All right, so there are some similarities and differences in this picture. Let's talk about what is the meaning of this artwork, okay? Actually, I want to go back. Let's go back for a second. So it's important also to notice that the colors are different from real life, right? Because cubism artwork is not supposed to look very realistic. It's supposed to be expressive or abstract, a little abstract. So, for example, let's see, this like guitar is black, green, and white. Okay, well, in real life, it would probably be brown. Okay, and this vase is also multiple unrealistic colors, right? And the colors seem to change even on the same thing. So let's interpret it now. If this were the cover of a book, what do you think the story would be about? I like to ask this question because it helps us figure out what the theme is or the symbols or the mood or feelings, and sometimes what the artist is trying to tell us. And there's really no wrong answer. So let's take a look at this and go and try and figure out if this was a cover of a book, what do you think the story would be? Well, it would maybe be about like a party or a celebration, I think, because there is music, there's food, right? And it kind of looks like they're getting ready to eat some stuff and have some, maybe a couple of their favorite drinks. Okay. So if I were to say, I would think it was kind of like a very happy mood or celebration. So let's talk about if we're going to make an artwork like this, what are some of the things that we're going to have to include in our pictures? Okay, think about all the things that we've pointed out so far. So our lines, we're definitely going to have some straight lines that are vertical going up and down and horizontal and some diagonal and maybe a little bit of wavy lines and curved lines. And our lines can change colors. Maybe we're going to include color too. Yes, we are. Not maybe, we are. And the colors don't have to be real. They can repeat or be different than real life. It's up to you to make maybe even patterns and textures, like rough textures and smooth textures. And the theme, I think we're going to stick with food. And we're going to pick our favorite food and we're going to express the way we feel about our favorite food, which is hopefully happy. Okay, so take a few minutes. If you didn't get a chance to get your supplies ready, we are going to get started here in just a moment. So make sure you at least have paper and pencil and hopefully something to color with. I'm also going to be using a pen and a marker. You don't have to use that, but that's what I'm going to be using so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so get those ready. We are going to start in just a moment. Okay, so let's get started on our artwork. So the first part of our artwork, we are going to focus on those geometric shapes and lines. I mean, that's why it's called cubism, right? Because of all the shapes. So I'm going to start with a pen so you can see what I'm working on, but I don't want you guys to use a pen. In case you don't like something, you won't be able to erase it. If that's all you have, that's fine. You can use a pen. All right, so I'm going to start by drawing. You can see an example of all the different kinds of geometric shapes, and geometric lines are usually very straight and have corners. So let's take a moment to do that. And if you want to watch me do that first, we can do that. So try to draw, let's do 7 geometric lines. So I'm going to start with a diagonal line. That's 1. Vertical line. That's 2. Horizontal line. Oops. Where is it? Why isn't it drawing? There it goes. So that's 3. Maybe like a zigzag line. 4. Another vertical. 5. Another horizontal. 6. And one more. I'll do another diagonal line. 7. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment to go ahead. If you already haven't started, you don't have to do the same lines as me. This is just random. Make some geometric type lines across your entire paper. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so hopefully by now you've had a chance to draw some of these lines. If you need to, you can always, if you're watching this video, you can pause it. All right. So now let's talk about our subject. I want you guys to pick your favorite food. I've put up some drawings of different kinds of foods that I thought you might like. You can try and copy one of those or just make up your own drawing. It doesn't really matter. I want you to have fun. If you don't see your favorite food on here, that's fine. Just draw whatever you like. And we're sticking with food, I think, here. If you really want to draw something else, I guess that's okay, as long as it goes through all the shapes. So I think I'm going to do some cake this time. So I'm going to draw a slice of cake. Just going to start here, and then it's going to be a triangle for the top of the cake. Then it's going to come down. It's going to come back. And I think I'm going to put some layers in the cake. I think I'm going to switch to a marker here. Yeah, that looks better. Much better. Now you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to put some layers in there. Okay, so if you want to get started by drawing your favorite foods in your artwork, you can go ahead and do that now. I think I'm going to put a little, no, I think I'm going to leave it chocolate cake. Okay. All right, I got a piece of cake. I think I'm going to do a donut too. Donuts. I'm going to do my favorite donut, which is a Boston cream donut. Okay, so if you haven't already started, please start drawing your favorite foods. Draw right through all those geometric lines that we've already started with. Go ahead and do that now. Just remember, everybody, this does not have to look real. Okay, in fact, I think I did mine a little too realistic. I should have made mine a little more fake looking. All right. So if yours doesn't look real, perfect. It's not supposed to. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and while you guys are working, I'm going to start adding color now. Remember, the colors do not have to look real. Okay. So if it's a chocolate cake, doesn't matter. You can make it blue if you want to. Depends on how you feel. Pick your favorite colors because this is your favorite food. So I'm going to switch to a crayon. And I think I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with pink color. Okay, so every time you're coloring and you run into a line and it changes the shape, I want you to switch colors. So right there, I just ran into a line. Okay, you can use the same color more than once. That's okay. I'll use the same color over here. And I'm running into lines, so that's where I'm going to stop this color. I think I'm going to repeat it again. Because if you remember from our examples, they would repeat the same color a couple of times. I'm going to switch to the red. I'm going to do red down here. Do some red over here. So if you guys are done drawing your favorite foods, you can start adding some colors right now if you would like. Switch colors to this really dark red. Okay, I think I'll switch to orange now. So I'm making my background with hot colors. Colors you would see in fire. So if you didn't hear me before, if you're not already coloring and you're done drawing, you can go ahead and start coloring like I'm doing in my picture. Okay, we're just gonna make that and that. And I'm gonna switch to cold colors for my cake and donuts. Oops. I forgot my rules. I ran into a line and I colored right through it. So I'm going to frosting green. Like green eggs and ham, I guess. Remember, the colors do not have to look real. Okay. All right, so I've got my cake done. I think I'm gonna make a blue donut. A little purpley. Okay. So just keep adding some colors to your picture. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, before we run out of time, I just want to say over the next week, if you could finish adding color and finish this drawing up and bring it to class to show me, I'd really love to see it. I always love seeing your artwork. And here's just something to think about to let me know during our next class. If you can come and tell me during our next live Zoom if you think this is true or false, that would be awesome. True as in it's real, or false as you don't think it's real. Cubism art looks fake, had many viewpoints and geometric shapes. All right, guys, I hope you had fun learning about cubism and doing this cubism artwork with me. I know I had fun. I really, really look forward to seeing your finished art projects during our next live Zoom. And that's all I have for you today. So have a great week.